Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in studio here this morning, Curt Homann, is the Executive Director of the DeWitt County Development Council. Good morning, Curt.
Good morning, Seth.
Happy holidays and all those things to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate
Same
you.
to you as well.
Thank you. Appreciate you making time for us. And I know as we kind of wrap up the year 2022, it's been somewhat of an eventful year for you professionally, just professionally, in the fact that you've taken on DCDC as the Executive Director. You're the Executive Director of the Warner Hospital Foundation now, and trying to learn to juggle those two positions and make them cohesive in your life and those sorts of things. Today we talk DCDC. So looking back at 22, Curt, how about 2022? Just overall thoughts.
You know, it actually was it really was a good year. And thank you for, in terms of, changes in my life and taking on those roles. I was excited to do it. DeWitt County's always been home for me, and I just want to see DeWitt County succeed. So it's actually been a fun year, but a very productive year as I look back through the year. So I'd love to share some of those details with you, and we'll highlight more as we continue through 2023 as well. But,
sure.
Yeah.
Well, and just in terms of DCDC and becoming the Executive Director, we'll just kind of focus there for this morning. Talk a little bit about, that transition for you. Have you learned a lot? Have you, as you look back reflectively, what have you taken away from the last year?
Yeah. So, I have. I mean, it helped being in that role on the board for, over a decade, I guess. So I sort of knew the ins and outs of DCDC. Everything I've ever done in my life has always been about relationships. So, we continue with that, whether it's through the Warner Hospital Foundation or through DCDC. I mean, it really is building relationships one-on-one, and then in whatever capacity I'm in, finding ways to be helpful.
Sure.
And really that's what my job boils down to. Now there's an awful lot of knowledge that has come over the years and is very extraordinarily helpful, like contacts in Springfield, for grants or just who do I contact about this or that or the other things. But it's been fun. It really has been fun, and it's been a great transition, I think. And glad to do it as long as people will allow me to do so.
Talk to me a little bit about, bringing that relationship building, piece and skill you have into DCDC and how that has manifested itself this year.
Sure. So I guess I always felt like I'm very approachable. So I want someone to come up and say hello and say hi. And if they're able to do that, then we're able to talk about maybe more important things, so business needs or whatever or business issues. So it really was a good transition that way. But in terms of 2022, I guess a few things specifically, and I brought a note list here, and it just kept growing as I started writing. So we're probably not going to get through all these, but DCDC awarded $25,000 in grant money this year, and that was to 9 different businesses in DeWitt County. And that in itself, is free money that those businesses have, mostly to use for expanding their business. So it's going to create even more sales, more services, and that's going to create more sales tax dollars, and that's going to leverage throughout the community multiple times over. But that I always put that top on our list of things that we do, and I'm real proud of that. And the nine businesses that receive some funds also have to be, they have to. I think they have to be appreciative of DCDC right now. Certainly.
And I feel like those grant opportunities are growing. Not only the name of DCDC and the recognition, but it's growing the reputation of DCDC, because for so long it was just kind of a pursuing organization, and now it's a proactive organization, if you will.
Correct. And I think we've talked about this, but my approach certainly this year, and this will continue, but the approach this year was to assist local DeWitt County businesses that are in existence, or assist DeWitt County residents that want to open businesses. So we really pinpointed our focus for the year, and grants was a great way to do that.
Right.
And that also opened the doors to other additional conversations. So not everyone received a grant, but I'm still talking and working with those folks. Maybe they'll get a grant next year. Maybe they'll get their business open next year. I mean, it just opens up an awful lot of doors to new business activity.
Well, and I know, just thinking about the couple of grants that you awarded, I think of the folks with the stylist shop uptown. They put in a new business there, and they've done they have a lot of great services, and people, are there all the time. So, there's certainly benefits and tangible benefits to those investments you're talking about.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I will tell you, I had an economic development person from another county in the state of Illinois reach out to me this morning. They had seen some Facebook posts and say, "Hey, tell me about this program." So it's actually a program that our places want to model.
No kidding.
Yeah.
That's
and
great.
so it's, I think we have an advantage with that program at this point. We're really thankful to First National Bank, for helping with a portion of those grants as well.
Sure. Well, Curt, let's talk other things that happened
Absolutely.
in 2022. What else do you have for us?
So the other program that I always talk about is we did 2 low interest gap financing loans as well, which totaled $45,000. And again, this is monies that new businesses or existing businesses could use to buy equipment, do renovations, do those types of things. So
is this that USDA loan?
It's USDA loan to DCDC, and then DCDC turns that out. And
yes, the revolving loan.
Yes, our revolving loan fund.
Okay, gotcha.
So we did 2 of those, again, that totaled $45,000, low interest. There's of course some requirements in there. We still have money to lend in that department. At the time, they were 3% interest loans. Those loans still are. They may have gone up slightly, but they're still low interest loans. So there's no doubt about that. I had to date, I think that number is somewhere around 426 different business visits, and those are just going in and introducing myself, and here's who I am, and what can I do? Or I saw you 6 months ago. What do you need? Anything changed? How are things going? What can we do? So I've tried to be visible in the county. Most of those business visits are the smaller size businesses. I'm not necessarily, not that we have a 10 million person employer in the county, but those businesses need our assistance probably less than the small businesses do. So I've focused a lot on the small business, the mom and pop, the local folks that are going to kind of spread the word about what we do. So
how do you grow the Rolodex of contacts in that world? Because, maybe some of those they don't have a brick and mortar store, so you can't just walk in and approach them. Maybe it's a side hustle for someone.
Correct. And those are tough. I have to get those through word of mouth or social media, or, just happen to hear something. And in those cases, you're right. It's picking up a phone or sending an email or whatever it is to make that contact. And some of those are different hours, but the focus primarily in the beginning was the brick and mortar locations. And then from there, I would get, hey, so-and-so is doing this, and we would reach out, and sometimes we'd meet, at my office or wherever, and discuss business things. But yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
That is a good point.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm sure I've missed several.
Well, and that's, probably a call to, if you're a business owner, but you, like you said, you don't have a brick and mortar, or, it's a side hustle. So you're working, after your regular work hours. A lot of those things grew during COVID. People took on new ventures. How do folks get a hold of you, Curt, to maybe have a conversation about what DCDC can maybe do for their business?
Go to our Facebook page. Easiest way. It has all our contact information, but our phone number, 217-935-5271. And I have that phone with me on all the time. I'm on it a lot. So if I don't answer right away, leave a message.
Very good. Curt Homann is the executive director of the DeWitt County Development Council. Curt, anything else from 2022 of highlight for you?
We have I have several things. So you just tell me how many hours I have.
Yeah, let's keep going. We've got about 5 minutes here before a break. Okay. So let's rock and roll.
No problem. So I mentioned a lot of times, those initial conversations or those walk-ins turn into a lot of other things. But so my list is, where have we assisted other businesses? We've created business plans. Sometimes they need those for loans. Sometimes they need those for grants. If it's a newer business, we also look at feasibility of that business.
Mhm.
So we'll start doing some financial breakdowns and say, hey, does this business make sense? Or on paper, it doesn't appear that it makes sense. What are we missing, or what can we change that will make this feasible?
Sure.
So sometimes it's really walking someone through whether that business even makes sense to begin with.
I really, if I can't interrupt, I want to say something because, I go back to what I said earlier about DCDC kind of being a, seeking out and, pursuing business. And that's fine. That's great. That should certainly be a part of the model of what they do. But, I think we've talked many, many times on this program with the folks in Monticello, and they've got their business boot camp program. And that basically helps potential business owners in their community build up what you're talking about, their business plan, their financing, understanding that they may not turn a profit and have a salary for the first few years. How do they handle that personally and from a family perspective? I really appreciate what you're saying about we're touching base with local people that have an idea and we want to help them make that a reality. But what do they need to do to get there? I really like that aspect of what you're taking up.
Correct. And we've really taken, we don't certainly call it a boot camp. We're really, it's an individualized boot camp. So, we're going to take someone from, an idea to a business. Or we're going to take someone from an idea to say, hey, this isn't going to work. So don't go bankrupt doing this. So
sometimes a sad dose of reality, helps someone avoid, a tragic situation.
Correct. We want, for businesses to be successful, we want people to know as best possible that path that's going to occur. So if that path makes sense, then that's great. But yes, I agree. It's a big part of what, we do. And sometimes, sometimes people feel like, well, I don't know that I really need any assistance. Sometimes it's just a conversation, or do you know anyone that, maybe it's a referral, maybe it's, whatever it is. So many times it's, we're not doing everything. We're not going through financials. We're not going through those things, but there's a piece of the puzzle sometimes that we can help out with. So
I think that reassurance, you talked about the piece of the puzzle. I think that reassurance piece of the puzzle, even if someone thinks they don't need that help, it doesn't hurt to run it by an outsider who knows what they're doing, or, maybe can find a loophole that you haven't thought of and make you consider something that isn't on your radar, if that makes any sense.
No doubt. And anyone that's ever had a business, there's times where there's times that are tough. There's times that you question why am I doing this? Why am I? And there's times that are fantastic too. But the reality of it is, when the times get tough, you want someone to throw some things off of. And that's what we are at DCDC. And if it's not me, we can get you in contact with people that would be absolute experts in that area.
Definitely. Well, Curt, I look at the clock. Let's take a time out here. Again, how do folks reach you, get a hold of you with questions? They just want to talk. How about those things?
Facebook or call 935-5271.
Very good. Curt Homann, Executive Director of the DeWitt County Development Council. My guest in studio. More to come with him on the WHOW Morning Show. WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now at the Chicago Board of Trade on this Friday. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn slightly lower, beans slightly higher, wheat starting the day slightly lower. March corn 6.52.5 down a penny. May corn down a penny, 6.52 3/4. July corn 6.48 down a penny. January beans 14.77 up 3.5. March beans up 3.5, 14.80 1/4. May beans 14.82 up 2 1/4. March Chicago wheat 7.55.5 down 1 3/4. May wheat down 1.5. 7.64.5. July wheat 7.69 3/4 down 3/4. January bean meal 461.70, that's up 6.40, and January bean oil 63.27 down 55 cents. Looking at the energy market to start this Friday, January crude oil 73.57 down 2.54. You're listening to the RFD Radio Network.
Are you a friend of agriculture? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick in Clinton. We're giving a $500 Friends of Ag discount to anyone that orders a new Chevrolet or Buick to be built just for you this month. Are you a friend of ag? You are if you're a member of any ag organization, employed by any ag-related business, including research, inputs, manufacturing, sales, and marketing, and of course, ag education. Come in, order yours today. BombChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
MR Systems Wireless is your local internet provider for Clinton and surrounding area. They have the products you want and the local service you deserve. MR Systems Wireless Internet service for home or business includes unlimited data, unlimited streaming, and unlimited calling. Plans start at just $48 a month and get a free Roku 4 lease with our media packages. Get the speed you need with MR Systems Wireless. Call them at 935-2100. That's 935-2100 for MR Systems Wireless.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, a good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show is streaming to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Curt Homann is the Executive Director of the DeWitt County Development Council in studio with us for today. Curt, other highlights in 2022, like what else stood out to you in your first year with DCDC? How about that?
Well, again, as I made this list, I really looked back and thought, well, we did make a good impact to the county and to the business community and to the individuals in DeWitt County. So I was really proud. I was really proud as I went through this and did these things. But we had kind of stopped off where some of the other areas that we help out, other than grants and loans and some of those things. But we did have some businesses reach out for marketing ideas. Sometimes, again, I mentioned a little bit, sometimes it was just a referral. Sometimes, hey, typically financial referrals, but sometimes, tax accounting, sometimes, it could be a lot of different things. Site selection. We did have a couple of inquiries regarding site selection. Those were typically outside of DeWitt County, which is kind of a cool thing,
right?
And mostly testing the waters to see what's there. Does it fit their needs? I get those actually regularly from the state.
Really?
But yeah.
And you made a database for those, right?
Well, we have the state actually has a database, so we do list available properties on that statewide database as well.
Okay.
And that way businesses can go directly to that site and see matches.
I see.
So it hasn't been extraordinarily successful for DeWitt County at this point yet.
Gotcha.
But I guess it's just finding the right match is really all that is.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and giving people, an idea of what they're dealing with if they want to come here.
That's correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. If they need a population of 10 million, they're in Cook County.
Right. Yeah.
And they're not looking at DeWitt County anyway.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt. How about other just things that you got calls on or help folks with? How about that?
Yeah. We've had even requests for a partner, a financial backer, an investor, those types of things. Those are tricky, obviously, but that is an area we've been working. There's someone really wants to open a daycare center in Farmer City. Actually, there's a lot of time and money commitment. So we've been working as best as we can to find a way to get that much needed service done.
Yeah.
Whether we're successful in that area or not, I don't know, but we keep trying.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
Yeah, no doubt. But those properties, those are really, as I go through the list, those are fairly comprehensive of things. I probably on a day-to-day basis, there's several other things that happen along there, but but those have had to categorize them. Those are the main things.
Sure. And just in general, I probably should put this out there. Like, you're not coming at this from you're the all-knowing czar of everything business, but you have a lot of connections you've got certainly your knowledge from your time in business, but also if folks come to you and they have something maybe they need to hash out, you can point them in a direction of, hey, here's someone local that can help you or something of that nature.
Correct. So absolutely, and I thank you for pointing that out. My wife likes to point out that I'm not all knowing as well. But
that's why we got married, right?
Exactly.
Keep us humble.
No. So, but the reality of it is, I do have a lot of contacts. So whether it's at the state or whether it's other economic folks or financial institutions or those things. So when people come to a question, generally the first thing I'm doing is getting on the phone and getting someone in front of me that or on the other end of the phone that really is an expert in that area, and then kind of connect the two of them if needed, or just get the general information for them. So yeah, but absolutely. So so many times it's, a business owner may not have any idea where to go, and if I have some idea where to go, or I can get that done in 2 or 3 calls, where it might take someone else 100 calls and a lot of frustration. That is a big selling tool, I think, to what DCDC is all about.
Definitely. I want to ask you, Curt, you have been involved with DCDC for a very long time, and there's been executive directors, with different types of roles. How do you feel about where you are taking DCDC and just the direction of the organization right now?
Well, I feel good, and I talk about other, every director that we've had in there, in my eyes, has done really good things, and so I would never say anything negative. But what has changed is the time. Times have changed, and so 15 years ago, you couldn't have the internet, market for you or reach out. So in times where we've had directors reaching out to companies, almost just on a whim, you have no data to back that they might even come here. We have that data, and we can market to 10,000 potential businesses in a day, whereas 15 years ago, you couldn't market to 10,000 potential businesses in a decade, most likely.
Right. Exactly.
So, we really are able to work a lot more efficiently. So I gave the analogy the other day of we pinpointed our focus, and before, it was taking a dart, throwing it into the Grand Canyon, and trying to hit a bullseye somewhere. It was virtually impossible.
Yeah, sure.
So we're able to be a lot more precise with that.
1 minute. I want to make sure we get to this diversity and just representation of the board from all arears of the county. How about that?
One of the things I'm proud of is that we have picked up more board members and more board members from different locations within the county, and it's always been important to have certainly Farmer City, Clinton, and county board representation, and we have had that this year, and that is tremendously important, because we need that info from every corner. Now, we still want to expand that a little more, and we still do have some board openings, but our board is more diverse. It's a much more active than it has been in prior years, and so proud of that.
I need to wrap this up, Curt. Where do folks go to learn more about DCDC?
Easiest way, again, Facebook, or reach out on phone 217-935-5271.
Curt Homann is the executive director of the DeWitt County Development Council. Our guest. Network News is next.
The Big 1520 WHOW Clinton, 92.3 FM,